The ship had been out to sea for months, without incident, until suddenly the main engine began to fail. The crew scrambled to fix it, but no one could figure out what was wrong. The situation grew more dire as the ship began to lose power. But then something incredible happened. A new engineer arrived and quickly diagnosed the problem. He got to work repairing the engine, and in no time at all, he had fixed it up and running, like new. The ship's captain was overjoyed and offered him a reward, but the engineer simply declined, saying that he was just doing his job. What was the problem with the engine, and how did this mysterious engineer solve it? Let's find out in today's story. Our story begins with a mighty aircraft carrier sailing through the vast ocean. This was not just any aircraft carrier. It was the pride of the Navy, known for its strength and reliability. For months, the ship had sailed the seas without a single issue, completing mission after mission with ease. But then, out of nowhere, the unthinkable happened. The ship's main engine, the very thing that kept the vessel moving through the water, began to sputter and cough. Alarms, blood-red lights flashed, and the crew of the ship sprang into action. They had never experienced anything like this before. As the ship's engineers worked feverishly to diagnose the problem, the captain paced the deck, his face etched with worry. They tried everything they knew to do, but nothing seemed to work. The ship was in grave danger and they were running out of time. Just when all hope seemed to be lost, a faint knock echoed from the depths of the engine room. The sound was barely audible above the din of machinery, but it was enough to catch the attention of the ship's captain. He stopped pacing and strained to listen. Could it be? Was there still a chance of saving the ship, or was this just another cruel trick of fate? As the captain stood there, listening intently, the sound came again. A faint knock, a tiny glimmer of hope in the midst of their despair. The captain didn't hesitate. He turned and strode purposefully toward the engine room, his steps echoing his determination. As he descended into the belly of the ship, the noise grew louder, guiding him deeper and deeper into the labyrinth of pipes and gears. Wheat, each step, the tension mounted. What was down there? What was making that sound? The answers, when they came, would change everything. Deeper and deeper he went until he saw him, a lone figure amidst the chaos, a beacon of hope in the darkness. But who was this man? Why was he in the engine room? And what was he doing? The captain approached cautiously, his eyes scanning, his mind racing. Then he heard it again, that faint knock, now steady and sure, a rhythmic pulse and the deafening roar. The man was knocking, and with each knock, hope flickered anew. The man looked up, his face, grim eyes intense. In that moment, the captain saw not just an engineer, but a lifeline. A man who might just be their only hope of averting disaster. With a firm nod, the captain turned back toward the ladder, his steps lighter now, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. He would bring this man to the surface, introduce him to the world, and together they would save the ship. The drama of the situation settled over them like a shroud, amplifying every sound, every movement. The captain knew time was of the essence. Each second that passed brought them closer to disaster. With a newfound determination, he made his way back up the ladder, eager to share his discovery with the rest of the crew. On deck, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Every sailor on board knew the gravity of their situation. The ship's fate hung in the balance, swaying precariously between hope and despair. The captain emerged from the hatch, his face betraying the intensity of the situation. As he spoke, his words echoing the urgency in his heart, the sailors looked to him, their faces etched with worry and anticipation. Would this new arrival be their savior, or just another false dawn? The captain held their gazes, his eyes conveying the gravity of the situation. Then he gestured, inviting the engineer to come forward. All eyes turned to the opening as the engineer slowly ascended the ladder. Each step he took was laden with importance. Every move watched, every breath held. As he emerged on deck, he was met with a sea of expectant faces, each sailor silently asking the same question. Who was this man and what was his purpose? With a deep breath, the engineer began to speak, his voice resonating with authority. His words, though calm, carried the weight of their desperate situation. He explained his findings, detailing the extent of the damage and the urgency of their situation. His words were a stark reminder of the peril they faced, but also a testament to their potential salvation. The engine, the very heart of their mighty ship, had suffered a catastrophic failure. Without it, their vessel would be crippled, their mission aborted, their very survival threatened. Yet amidst the bleakness, the engineer offered a glimmer of hope. There was a part, a crucial component that could be replaced, a temporary fix that could get them through. But time was of the essence. Every moment they spent immobile was another moment closer to disaster. As he spoke, the sailors stirred into action. Like a well-oiled machine, they moved with purpose, each knowing their role, each step guided by the engineer's instructions. Amidst the flurry of activity, the captain watched, a mixture of relief and admiration on his face. The ship was coming alive again, not because of some miracle, but because of the collective will of its crew. In the chaos of the engine room, amidst the symphony of clanging metal and hissing steam, the engineer was a man possessed. His hands moved with a practiced grace, his eyes focused, his movements economical. He wasn't just fixing an engine. He was performing an intricate surgery, each twist and turn crucial, each adjustment vital. But the climax of the repair was the replacement of the fuel injector. This was the heart of the matter, the core of the problem. And as the engineer's hands tightened around the wrench, everyone held their breath. This was the moment of truth, the point of no return. With a final grunt, he tightened the last bolt, completing the repair. It was done. The silence in the engine room was deafening, broken only by the hiss of cooling steam. Then, slowly, ever so slowly, the engine began to turn over. The rhythmic chugging of the engine filled the air, growing louder, steadier, a sound that was music to their ears. The ship was coming back to life. As the engine roared back into action, cheers erupted in the engine room. High fives were exchanged, smiles broke out, and the weight of their ordeal began to lift. They had done it. They had saved the ship. And at the center of it all was the engineer, the man whose calm demeanor and steady hands had guided them through the crisis. The captain, his face beaming with pride, approached the engineer, extending a hand in gratitude. "You saved us," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have our thanks and the fate of this ship." Engineer, his face etched with fatigue but lit with satisfaction, accepted the handshake. "It was my duty," he replied, his voice hoarse but resolute. "A ship is only as strong as its engine, and I'm just glad I could help." As the ship steamed smoothly through the waters, a profound sense of relief washed over the crew. The danger had passed, the ship was safe, and they had learned a valuable lesson about the true meaning of teamwork. But the story doesn't end there. The engineer, with his quiet competence and steady nerves, had become a hero, a silent guardian of the seas. And as the ship continued its journey, so did his legend. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more exciting stories in the future.